بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وصلوات الله وسلامه على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا Muhammad وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. In the name of Allah, the Compassionate, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His Prophet Muhammad, his family, and his followers, all until the day of resurrection. I would like to continue the etiquettes of reciting the glorious Qur'an, and we've already explained the tremendous reward in reciting or making tilawah of the glorious Qur'an. And in order to maximize the benefit of that recitation and to get the reward for following the etiquettes of the recitation, let me say that we need to make tartil. Now, tartil is different than hadr, where the aim for the reciter is to reach the end of the surah, is to get as much of a reading as possible. Of course, the purpose of recitation is not to complete a particular surah or to read as much as possible, but rather to benefit from the recitation, to enrich one's soul, to let it come and stay in the heart. You know, in the hadith, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala an met a man who said, I read Al-Mufassal. Al-Mufassal is the surahs from Qaf until the end of the glorious Qur'an. And he said, I can read it in one rak'ah. He said, أَهَذًّا كَهَذِّ الشِّعْرِ? Is it like you're reciting it just like you're reciting a poem, saying it one after the other? Meaning that he, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh, who was a very knowledgeable person about the Qur'an, he himself was a qari of the glorious Qur'an. He said, إِنَّ قَوْمًا يَقْرَؤُونَ الْقُرْآنَ لَا يُجَاوِزُ تَرَاقِيَهُم. There are some people who recite the Qur'an which does not go beyond this level. It does not go beyond this, meaning that it doesn't go down to their hearts, meaning it will reach up to here, turquwa, on both sides, which is the bone of the shoulder. And obviously, as he said, إِذَا وَقَعَ فِي الْقَلْبِ رَسَخَ فِيهِ. If it reaches the heart, it will stay in it. So we need to recite from the heart. And that's why it needs some slowliness in reciting the glorious Qur'an, rather than speeding up and trying to get as much as possible. If you read it, you just read it from the mouth to outside, not read it from the mouth to inside the heart, and then it comes out from the heart. It comes out after you have it observed in the heart. This is very, very significant. Also, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu was reported to have said, لا تنثروه, meaning when reciting the glorious Qur'an, لا تنثروه نثر الدقل ولا تهذوه هذ الشعر. Do not throw the Qur'an just like you throw bad dates, and do not speed up in reciting it just like you're doing it with poetry, which is a way that the Arabs used to do. قِفُوا عِنْدَ عَجَائِبِهِ. Stand at amazing meanings. Because if you think of what Allah says, it really is very much going to be beneficial. Suppose you are reading Al-Qari'ah. Al-Qari'ah. ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة. It's a small surah, one word in every verse, but it says Al-Qari'ah, a striking one. ما القارعة, what is a striking one? وما أدراك ما القارعة, and what do you know about the striking one? يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث, when people be like spread around because of the strength of the day of judgment. It is when these people are spread around and thrown, very small in size, very weak, very submitting, and thrown here and there. Just think of this instead of saying القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش. What is this? Rather than doing this, you say القارعة ما القارعة وما أدراك ما القارعة يوم يكون الناس كالفراش المبثوث وتكون الجبال كالعهن المنفوش. Now it's like the mountains will be like cotton or wool that is spread around. كالعهن المنفوش. I mean, look at the mountains with their strength and power and solid nature will be like wool. It's amazing. It's amazing. You know, they will be from strong to weak. And that is when everything submits and changes its nature on the Day of Judgment. That shows you can have a meaning of this when reciting the glorious Qur'an slowly and, of course, going down to the heart. You may, for those who are very much familiar with the glorious Qur'an, they may read in a certain speed, yes, because they already have that, but it's not recommended to complete the Qur'an in less than 3 days. The Prophet ﷺ directed the companions not to complete the Qur'an altogether in less than 3 days. But if you can do it like in a week, that would be the most preferable way. So it is important. One of the etiquettes of reciting the glorious Qur'an is to sit together with a group, sit with a company. Now, to sit in one place is important because in the hadith, ما اجتمع قوم في بيت من بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسونه بينهم إلا غشيتهم الرحمة ونزلت عليهم السكينة وحفتهم الملائكة وذكرهم الله في من عنده. So no people would be sitting in one of the houses of Allah, meaning masjids, and they would be reciting the book of Allah among themselves, except that 4 things will happen to them, that rahmah will encompass them, and sakina, which is tranquility and peace, will descend upon them, and the angels will surround them, and Allah will mention them with the angels in the highest positions. So, look at the benefits of sitting together to recite the glorious Qur'an. Very important, very significant. Now, people at times sit together and recite the Qur'an in one voice. That is not the way the Salaf or the earlier predecessors used to do. Those who knew the Qur'an and the value of the Qur'an and knew how the Prophet ﷺ taught the Qur'an, they used to not do this. But rather, if they would sit together, they would ask someone to do that. Yes, people at times, especially if they are trying to learn the glorious Qur'an, they can sit and one would start reading a certain amount of ayahs, and then a second one to his right will continue doing a few ayahs as well, and then a third one, and so on and so forth. But the best way is to listen to one, or everyone would have his own share of his own surah, for example. But for the purpose of learning, it's okay. Like children, if they repeat after their own teacher in a collective way, that is permissible to do so. That is permissible to do so. But the point is, if people sit together in one place and try to recite the glorious Qur'an, this is very, very beneficial to them. And of course, these four things that I mentioned would be coming to them. May Allah keep us all together, tied to the Qur'an and getting the blessings and the mercy of the glorious Qur'an. And I will have a break and coming back to continue on the etiquettes of reciting the glorious Qur'an. Don't go away.
A servant is not afflicted with any punishment greater than having a stiff heart and being away from the Almighty, the Compassionate. Hearts are God's vessels on the earth. The most beloved ones to Him are the softest and the most purest. If hearts are nourished with God's remembrance and quenched with His meditation, it will witness great wonders and deep wisdom. Since our hearts are enlaced with layers of oblivion, we need to cleanse them to stand sound and pure before Allah. To know more, join us on Peace TV's new series on healing hearts, where we can join together the caravan of the sincere servants of Allah.
Let's try and purify our hearts from all destructive sins to taste true success in Healing Hearts. Every Thursday at 6 p.m. and repeat telecast at 5:30 a.m. India on Peace TV.
Where truth is hidden, misleading quotations create confusion. Where truth is hidden, lack of knowledge and wisdom cause upheaval and commotion. Where truth is hidden, manipulated scriptures and twisted facts emerge. This very hidden truth creates false propaganda, mayhem, chaos, disorder, and turmoil in our lives and the world order. But is there anyone with courage and wisdom? What is the truth, and who has the courage to expose it? Because it's your right to know the truth.
Watch truth prevail and lies perish in Truth Exposed by Dr. Zakir Naik. Every Sunday to Friday at 9 p.m. and repeat telecast at 7:30 a.m. India on Peace TV.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man ittaba'a tariqatahu wa hudah. I'm back with you and continuing to talk about the etiquettes of reciting the glorious Qur'an. One of the etiquettes and adab of reciting the glorious Qur'an is to beautify one's voice for the glorious Qur'an. Now, Qur'an is beautiful, but we can add to that beauty by making the sounds so beautiful. Look at this hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said, Husnu sawti zinatul Qur'an. The beauty of the voice is indeed the beauty of the glorious Qur'an. Husnu sawt zinatul Qur'an. Hassinu al-Qur'ana bi aswatikum fa inna as-sawt al-hasan يزيد القرآن حسنا. Beautify the glorious Qur'an with your own voices, because a good and beautiful voice will increase the beauty of the glorious Qur'an. These are two correct hadiths. And look at this. ليس منا من لم يتغنى بالقرآن. It is not one of us who does not have this beautiful voice. Rather, make it so effective, because in the hadith as well, ما أذن الله لشيء ما أذن لنبي حسن الصوت بالقرآن يتغنى به. Allah has not permitted anything like He permitted a prophet who has a beautiful voice with the Qur'an. يتغنى بالقرآن. Of course, when we say it's just like singing, but it's not singing in the negative sense, or like some people would like to say and to do when they try to change it into something other than what the Qur'an was revealed for, because the Qur'an has to be respected. We cannot jump up and down. We cannot just go to the right and to the left, or to the front and to the back. No, the point is we respect it, but we just only beautify our voices with the Qur'an, rather than say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. It's not like that. Say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Just like many of the qaris that we know make so beautiful sounds, and therefore people get moved by this. And this is the purpose of the glorious Qur'an. One of the etiquettes is also not to raise the voice with the glorious Qur'an if there are people around you who are concentrating on doing something else, especially ibadah in the masjid, for example. When you see people, if someone raises the voice, another one is reading, it may affect them. Or if there is a person who is praying, doing salah, and we try to recite the Qur'an loudly, obviously it will disturb their salah. So the etiquette of reciting the Qur'an in public, one has to be careful about who listens to this and who's able to do this. Now, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, used to lower his voice with the Qur'an. He used to do it more quietly. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu used to do it loudly. And when he was asked about this, he said that it will be good for me to keep me awake and to kick the shaitan out. Of course, if you're alone and that would be good for you, do it. But if you're in the company of others and this is going to affect people around you, you need to lower your voice in order for you to listen to what you said, but not affecting others around you or having it to disturb them. One of the etiquettes is that if a person is reading it at night or even during the day, when a person falls asleep or starts yawning and something like that, a person needs to stop, because they may not recognize what they say, or the Qur'an is shown to be a source of boredom, which is not absolutely the way to show the beauty and the energy of the glorious Qur'an. And we may change even letters. You know, if a person yawns and says a word, it would be producing a word other than the original one in the glorious Qur'an. All of this is very, very significant not to do this. One of the etiquettes is to concentrate on verses such as Ayatul Kursi, or the last two ayahs, a group of ayahs in Surah Al-Baqarah, or certain surahs such as Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, which is equal to a third of the Qur'an. The Prophet ﷺ says, أَيَعْجَزُ أَحَدُكُمْ أَنْ يَقْرَأَ ثُلُثَ الْقُرْآنِ فِي لَيْلَةٍ. A person would not be able, or would be in a position not to be able to read third of the Qur'an in one night, فإنه من قرأ قل هو الله أحد في ليلة فقد قرأ في ليلته ثلث القرآن. If you recite قل هو الله أحد, just قل هو الله أحد alone, which is a few verses. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Look at that. It's like you have read third of the Quran in one night. So if you're busy, if you're traveling, if you are tired and you need to go to bed early and so on, just recite this. You may add to it, just like in the Sunnah, where the Prophet ﷺ used to raise his hands and to read قل هو الله أحد قل أعوذ برب الفلق قل أعوذ برب الناس, all these three surahs, along with Ayatul Kursi before that, and then you just wipe out your face and the front part of your body as much as you can reach from top to bottom, and that would be a source of tranquility and peace for your body and your spirit, and you'll have a good sleep by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Quran is important, but if you'd like to emphasize certain surahs, to read them because they have a special status, then that would be the best. One of the etiquettes of reciting the glorious Quran is to recite the glorious Quran when you are crying. Of course, a person cries because he has been moved, or the heart has been moved by the glorious Quran. Obviously, if a person produces this out of sincerity and it comes as a natural outcome, then that person is rewarded, and that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to do, because the Prophet ﷺ was reported to have been heard reciting the Quran when he was trembling, his chest was moving like a pot when there is something boiling inside it. Obviously, that is the nature of the Quran. But the point is, a person cries or gets so influenced by the Quran in a very calm way, very soft way, not loudly, or when a person shouts or cries so much. Especially you notice this during Taraweeh prayer in some of the masjids, where people try to get so emotional. Yes, because they get affected by people, either by the imam who cries or by others around them, among the congregation. That is important not to do this, because that may be a source of riyā or show off. It will also maybe out of shaitan, who wants to spoil your work and to prevent you and deprive you of getting the rewards of reciting the glorious Quran. And we know that Quran has to be read in sincerity, but it's a sunnah, it's mustahab, in fact, to read it with emotion, because Quran is serious and has to be read in this, because it's a warning. It is moving to the heart, and if we have that sense, of course the Quran will affect us, because there are some moving ayahs in there, especially if you remember the history, the context of these verses, where they were revealed and how they were revealed and the topic they address. Obviously you get moved, just like Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. One time he was reciting Surah Yusuf, and when Abu Yusuf, Yaqub alayhi salam, when he remembered that قال إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وأعلم من الله ما لا تعلمون. He said that I only reveal my complaint and my grief to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You will not be able to understand me. So thinking of that old father who went through what he went through, and he was away from his son, he lost his sight, all of this, very old man, and finally he is complaining not to anyone but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of what he went through. That of course was much moving to Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu. So he cried in his prayer when he was reciting the ayah. And there are many ayahs talking about the day of judgment, about the punishment of Allah, about the mercy of Allah, and so on and so forth. So that is one of the etiquettes. We will address more about the topic of the etiquettes of tilawatul Qur'an, reciting the glorious Qur'an, in the coming episodes, inshallah. Until then, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.